Okay, so one thing I want to do, I should have did this a long time ago. We've been rocking this little donut the whole time as our player. I kind of want to put some player graphics down. Maybe a couple sprites representing like some legs, a head, and have a little dude walking around, you know, like a game would. So let's kind of look at the graphics I got. Let's just kind of increase this here. So we have just kind of his little face. We got some legs. We got some sprites representing if he's looking left or right. Obviously the one where he's looking away from us if he's walking up. And then one where his legs are moving for kind of a walking animation if we want to get to that as well. So let's start by just drawing the guy in place of this donut. There is going to be an issue with trying this, but we'll act like nothing is awry, and we'll try to show the problem. So here's our player sprites. Let's replace the player sprite with the graphic for the legs, because when we collide, I want collision to be in relative to his legs, and that was why did I close everything down? Open characters, palettes, open palette, sprite palettes, increase. And actually, now that we're adding this guy, you can see his like hoodie or jumper is green. I kind of want to change this to purple. I just kind of like purple. So let's save palette, sprite palette. Okay, now we're finding out what tile he is. I just want to do that color edit. Tiles 12 is the head, and 22 is the legs. Minimize that. So 22 are the legs, and he draws just the same. Render, bam, purple jumper, and the legs are drawn. And okay, now we add the head. Those are going to be direct bites. The head is 8 pixels above the legs, so it's 80 minus 8. And that is 78. Tile 12. Then we got the binary value of 0, because there's no flipping, no different palettes because it's the palette 0, and no priority changes either. And the X direction is going to be the exact same because they should be in a line in the same X location. So 80 still. And this is player head. Okay, so ideally, in a perfect world, all I would have to do is increase the total sprites by 1 to 3, and it would draw our head. And I could say, hooray, we've rendered our guy. But this isn't a perfect world, and we've shot ourselves in the own foot because we did all this defining where the doors live. And that's going to live in Sprite RAM plus 8, which is immediately after the player Sprite RAM. And why is this actually interacting with us trying to draw a head, do you ask? Well, every time you load a level, what happens? You clean door RAM. And what happens in clean door RAM? Well, you load FE to all of those locations from the top door all the way to the bottom door, left door, and right door. It just blanks everything out in those locations. So the setup drew it just fine. If we escaped after setup, things would be all grand. But then once we load a room, it erases the head. So we got to do a little bit of moving around. So we want to increment everything by 4 because we're just kind of slotting in another sprite. So 8 plus 4, 12, 24 plus 4, 28, 40 plus 4, 24, 56 plus 4 is 60. Now it should draw the head. Bam, it drew the head. But all we did was draw it, and the legs are disjointed. So when we move the sprite, we also want to move the head. So move player up. So what happens when we move player up? We want to decrease the player Y position But we also want to decrease the player head Y position. And we haven't actually defined these yet. Let's go ahead and do so. And these are just telling where those locations are in Sprite RAM, just like we did with player X and player Y pause. So we have player Y, or sorry, player head Y and player head X. And those equate to a specific slot in the Sprite RAM. And what are those? Y is going to be Sprite RAM plus 8, because the Y direction is the first byte, and then 3 more bytes over is going to be that X position. Sprite RAM plus 11, so 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we can use these easier in our subroutine. Let's move back to move player up. So when we decrement the player Y, we also decrement the player head. And if we're ejecting them from the wall, we want to eject the head as well. Increment player head Y. Increment player head Y. And we do this for all the rest. So decrement player head Y. Decrement player head Y here, as we're doing the player Y position as well. This one is an increment player head Y. Now we're on to the X one. So increment player X. No, player head X. Increment player head X. Decrement player head X. One more to go. Last direction. Increment player head X. And decrement. So this should take care of moving the sprite around. Go right, go left, go up, go down. It moves in conjunction. Now we have a new problem. Let's just act like things are fine and dandy and walk through this portal. Bam! The head isn't reset. So every time we walk through another portal, bam, the head isn't reset. So we got to account for when we reset the player. Reset player up. All right, so in the Y direction, there is an offset of 8 pixels. So we, in relative to the player Y position, with it, which is the legs, we subtract 8 pixels to put a sprite on top of it. So we set the carry, subtract with carry, 8, and then we store that into player head Y. And the X direction stays the same because they're in the same X position. Player head X. So now these resets should work too. So we go to the top reset, we go to the right reset, left reset, and the bottom reset. Those all work. Now let's actually make it look like this player is facing where they're moving. Because right now he's just kind of gliding along. He's facing us the whole time. So let's try to make him look right when he's moving right, look left, look up, yada yada. And there's different tiles for that. So we have tile 13 is looking side to side. Tile 14 is looking up. So when we move player left, for example, let's change it to 13. And this is short enough to where we can just put it in here. So look left. We will load the tile number 13, and we will store it in player head tile. Now this doesn't exist yet, but let's use this as an alias. So player head tile equals Which byte is it? So here's the Y location, and then there's the tile. So player head Y plus 1 is the tile of the head. So that is player head Y plus 1. All right. Let's go down here. Oh, let's go back to move player left rather. So load A13, store in player head tile. Let's see what that did. We walk left. Oh, and now he's looking right, because literally all we did, he's kind of moonwalking right now. Literally all we did was replace the tile, and the tile is actually drawn as the player looking right. So we actually have to flip the attributes now. So that is done with these other bits. These bits that I always write in binary in the sprites, as you see here, all those bits mean like flip vertical, flip horizontal, priority, palettes, and all that stuff. So we have to load that binary number and store it as well. So down here, we will load the binary value. And what order are these again? So we have flip vertical, flip horizontal, priority, unused, 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 palette, palette. So we're worried about flipping in the horizontal direction. So 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Actually, I missed a 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that should be good. And we store that into another alias. Store A, player, head. We can call this attribute, player head attribute. And let's define this as player head Y plus 2, because that's the next tile over. So this should be correct. Let's see if he looks left. Bam, looks left. But we need to take care of the rest of the directions. So looking to the right should be easy, because we don't have to worry about the attribute bit. Oh, we actually have to. We do have to. So for example, if they're already looking to the left, that position in RAM has that bit checked. And if all we do is replace the tile, we don't actually make him look to the correct direction. So we do have to write a 0 in this subroutine. So this will be called look right. We load the tile 13, stored player head tile. We load 0 and store in player head attributes. So now the looking to the right should work. Looking to the right, looking to the left, right, left, right, left. Now we just have the up to worry about. And that's just as simple as replacing a tile. Okay, we got look up. We load tile 14, because that is the next tile over. So that's this tile of just like the blank purple hoodie color. And we store that in player head tile. Oh, and we do have look down to complete as well, because we got left, we got right, we got up, but then when we go down, it doesn't replace the tile back to the original. Move player down. So now we got look down. And that's load the original tile, which is 12, and store that in player head tile. Bam, look right, look left, look up, look down. Okay, so now it actually looks like we have a little character guy, and it's kind of representative of where he's looking, where he's walking, and it kind of looks more like what you would expect. I guess next we can work on maybe like a walking animation, and I guess I'll split that into another video. I'm sure a lot more is going to be involved with that. I'll see you over there.